bring us to the Ouachita Parish School Board meeting. Come anytime that your schedule would allow. Ms. Mickey, call roll, please.
Mr. Calhoun.
Here.
Ms. May.
Here.
Mr. Wagner.
Here.
Mr. Hicks.
Here.
Mr. McCoy.
Here.
Mr. Graves.
Here.
Mr. Manley.
Here.
Let's stand, please, for the pledge. Be done by Board Member Shirley May.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation be done by Board Member Greg Manley.
Please pray with me. Our Heavenly Father, just how loving and merciful and great God you are, Heavenly Father, and we just praise and glorify your name. Heavenly Father, we're just thankful for the blessings you give us each and every day, and we're thankful for the opportunity to come together as a school board and make decisions that impact the Ouachita Parish school system. And thank you so much for the guidance that you've given us this year and the protection that you provided our students and the safety you provided our students, staff, and administrators. We just ask for your continued guidance and direction on that, Heavenly Father, and we'll just give you the praise and the glory for it. Most of all, we thank you for our salvation, the price Jesus paid on the cross. All this we pray in his precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen. Board, look down to the approval of the minutes, August the 10th, 2021, and September the 1st, 2021. Need a motion in a second.
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
Second, all in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Looking down at the agenda, I need a motion in a second to approve the agenda.
Also move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion in a second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Personnel report, let's go.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Just one personnel move to make. I am very happy and honored to be able to name Mr. Todd Geis our Assistant Superintendent. He will certainly continue on with the Personnel Director's responsibilities, and that's a whole lot. But if I'm at conferences or I'm out and someone needs to be in charge, he is the man that has done it. He's done a great job with this district, and so I'm happy to add to his title, Assistant Superintendent for Ouachita Parish Schools. Congratulations, Todd. That's all I have, Mr. Hicks.
Thank you. Moving down to business. Item number 1, approval of the resolution commemorating and signing the Constitution on 9/17/1787. Ms. Mickey Jackson.
First of all, I'd like to say congratulations to the school board. This is only my second visit to this new facility. It's very nice. Good to see you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
I'm here for 10 years. Our organization, we have had a Constitution project. And I want to explain that this is a bipartisan, that there is no compromising when it comes to the Constitution. It is the supreme law of the land. In fact, Mr. Bob Weber was the first general chairman of our parish-wide Constitution project. This project does include all private schools, also the Monroe City school system, and Ouachita Parish. But I will have to say, Ouachita Parish, we've had tremendous support from Dr. Coker in the past. We had a workshop last year that was just awesome. And we're able to put materials and primary sources. When we start to teach government, it is important that we teach the documents that are primary sources. We need to ask questions of students and teach them to think deeply, but we should not try to persuade them one way or the other. And that's the purpose of Constitution Week. I want to call your attention to, for the board members, and the rest of you can see this tomorrow in the Ouachita Citizen. There will be a full-page ad. This year, our project is focusing on the preamble, and that is a 7th grade standard. I have enlisted the help of 2 of our retired. When we retire, y'all, we still have to do teaching. You know, we have to still teach. Rob Smith from Riser Elementary and Ted Brody, Riser Middle Schools, because this is a 7th grade standard. They have called, I said, well, where do we teach the Constitution? I want to know. It is in the 7th grade, Standard 8, Government, and its purposes, foundations, and structures. And the real motivation, and Mr. Brody tells me this, and I understand he's not just a teacher, that he is a historian. I don't know him well, but he was recommended to me as one of the foremost 7th grade teachers in Ouachita Parish. And he says it's important to understand the Great Compromise, why we have 3 branches, and what was the motivation of the preamble being written. With that being said, I know I just have a few minutes, and Sherry, I started asking you to give me time. I want to read this resolution, and we are seeking your approval today. Whereas the Congress of the United States of America on December the 8th, 2004, passed legislation designating September the 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week, and whereas the bipartisan bill was signed by President George W. Bush and became Public Law 108-447, and whereas the text of this law requires that students served by schools receiving any federal funds be provided instruction and training to advance their knowledge and understanding of the Constitution, whereby the primary objective of civic instruction is to ready the next generation to assume the duties and obligations of citizenship and to prepare students who will become the guardians of our liberty. Whereas instruction on the Constitution should affirm the rights and privileges granted to citizens in a republic where much power is vested in the people, and where, therefore, be it proclaimed by the duly elected officials of the Ouachita Parish School District their patriotic support for the Constitution of the United States and their support for instruction on this vital document, which is the supreme law of the land. This is going to be placed in every 7th grade classroom that teaches the Constitution and civics. We bought 100 of these. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mickey.
Do we have a motion and a second for approval of the resolution commemorating the signing of the Constitution?
Also move that we approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? From the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Moving down to item number 2, Calhoun Civic Club requesting and extend cooperative endeavor agreement with Scotty Wagner and Ms. Sandy Ezel.
I want to thank y'all for giving me a minute of your time today. I know you're very busy. I'm here to represent the Calhoun Civic Club. About 10 or 12 years back, we entered into a lease agreement with the school board for the property that is directly behind Calhoun Elementary School, the lower elementary. It was formerly the Calhoun High School football stadium, and our current lease includes the area that is inside of the cyclone fence that surrounded the football stadium at the time. When we first struck our lease, we had very limited resources at the Civic Club, and we have finally reached the point where we have additional resources that we can apply to the project that is the football field back there. And we see that as a area with a lot of potential to be a place that is more inviting and offers more assets for our community. But in order for us to move that forward and begin to build those things, we need to apply for grants. And in order for us to get grants, we need at least a 50-year term on our lease. Now, initially, we had a 50-year term on our lease, but we squandered that dozen years already, and so now we are down to 37 approximately left on the lease. When we first struck the lease, it had an additional possibility for a 25-year extension at the end of that term, and we are asking that we are given permission to go ahead and activate that additional 25 years
And that would give us, I believe, a 63-year lease. And that would qualify us for more grant money and really help us to really work on this project and develop it. You have included in your packet there a artist's rendering of some of the things that we are hoping to develop there. Of course, that can't all be done at one time. It will be done in phases, but we are very excited about the potential, and we're hoping that you will allow us to extend our lease so that we can begin the work on that.
Mr. Hicks, I've, of course, been involved with the Calhoun Civic Club and for the last 4 or 5 years. This has been a project that's been discussed for probably every meeting that I've ever attended there. It just, as everything, takes money, takes funding. Grants, basically, there are grants available, but they basically have a minimum of a 50-year lease if the property is not owned. So just in the last, I'm going to say year, and I knew once we got Sandy involved on this that she'd get something going. So just in the last year, we was able to get this drawing that was on the screen earlier. So with all that being said, I make a motion that we grant an extension of 25 years to the Calhoun Civic Club onto the current lease now.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion from the audience?
That's a good project.
From the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no? Motion.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all's time. And I also want to say to you that I appreciate that you're willing to come in and represent your communities and make the hard decisions for us.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, moving down to number 3, comprehensive annual financial report for the year ended June 30th, 2020. Ms. Meekus?
This report, I would actually ask that you table. We are currently working to finalize the report, but it cannot be presented to the board until the legislative auditor approves it and makes it a public document.
Okay. And now number 4 also, is that correct? You'll table both of them?
Just 3.
Just 3, I'm sorry, okay. Okay. All right, item number 4, 2021 school year COVID-19 summary.
Mr. President,
Mr. President, what?
do we have to, since we approved the agenda, do we have to vote also to table?
No, you don't have to vote the table, do you?
Not sure.
No.
Mr. Noah, does it need to be a vote to table something on the agenda?
I think you can just pass it, if either one would be fine, I think you can pass it.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, members of the board. I'm John Geis. You know me. I work with Elmer, and we all know that the COVID has upended the world of education. It's upended families as well, and it's been the source of a lot of contention in our parishes, particularly in our school districts and our municipality governments and all. And I just felt that I could offer the board some guidance and an explanation. Many times you're asked, what are you going to do with the mandate? Are y'all going to enforce the governor's mandate, or are you not going to enforce the governor's mandate? And I'm here to address that. I think I would have no credibility with you if I stood up here and said, this science is right and this science is wrong. You know, here's the latest numbers from yesterday. That's the reason we're having this issue, and these numbers are down. But as I go from parish to parish, I've sat through many, many meetings, and I hear one group say that the mask will not contain the particles, the masks are breeding grounds for bacteria, and they have reports that back that. I sit through press conferences and updates from the CDC and the Louisiana Department of Health that are saying that masks do not cause carbon dioxide issues or lack of oxygen for those who wear them. So the science is everywhere. And as with most things on the internet, you can find something to support whatever position you want to take. And again, I'm not taking a side. Because the question is simply, what science do we accept? Do we accept that of the CDC? Do we accept those that oppose masks? And the simple answer for you as board members is you don't have to cross that bridge. And really, it's not you don't have to, but you cannot cross that bridge because our legislature and the governor has made that decision for you. And he's basically told you what you can and cannot do. I've told groups sometimes that they would have just as good a chance being at the Council on Aging, asking them to change the mask mandates for schools as they do coming to the board, because you as a board have no authority to make that change. What happened was the legislature passed a law, let me skip over to the law, that said that when you are in an emergency situation, we're going to give powers to the governor. The legislature made that decision, and as you'll read at the bottom there, executive orders and proclamations have the full force and effect of the law. Using this authority, which the legislature gave him, he then passed two proclamations, or signed two proclamations, one on August the 2nd, the subsequent one on September the 1st, which extended the mask mandate through September the 29th. And that's the one that we're in now. Whether he extends it or not will depend probably on the numbers, and I do note that the numbers, although high, are still coming down. There's a downward trend. And then Bessie weighed in on this, albeit before the proclamation. A lot of people have said, John, now that took place at Bessie before the proclamation. And I like to use this story, you know. When I go fishing, if I catch a big fish at Caney Lake and I weigh it in, they give me a weigh ticket. I put that in my wallet. 6 months from now, I'm talking with Harold about this big fish I caught, and that fish gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you want to know the accurate, unbiased weight of that fish, you look at that weigh ticket that I got from the scale. And the same thing is here. A lot of pressure is being exerted on Bessie to step in here. But when we go back to that weigh ticket, before all this came up, what did Bessie say? Bessie said, Bessie's minimum standards pertaining to face covers are superseded by any statewide or district mandate issued by the governor. Face covering requirements are to be determined by local school systems when no mask mandate from the governor is in place. Folks, not only has your governor issued the proclamation, Bessie Board has conceded that that proclamation takes precedent. They have that on their website. If you go across the top of the website, click on News, drop down to the May 12th, you'll get the links to that. Subsequent to that, as recently as August the 11th, the Department of Education has amended its Ready to Achieve guidelines, and they have basically told you, follow the mandate. So now you have the governor, the Bessie, and the Department of Education that have said that. Now, last year, there were several lawsuits filed against the governor saying you don't have the authority to enforce the mandate. All of those courts ruled in the governor's favor. And so, why can't you buck the proclamation? Why can't you just pass a policy? The law says a board can pass a policy for its own government. But that same law that I have on the screen with you says not inconsistent with law or the regulations of Bessie as it may deem appropriate. So you are the board. You do set educational guidelines for your students, but you do not have the authority to violate the law. And then some districts I go to, people will assert, well, if the board can't do it, let that superintendent do it. That's what he's paid to do. The next law that I have before you says that the local superintendent shall see that the provisions of state school are complied with. So in short, you have no authority to ignore the mandate. And so at this point, the issue then becomes, what is that mandate? That mandate is that children 5 and above, whether they be in school, on a school-sponsored field trip, or in any indoor building, that they have the mask on. Now, people say there are exceptions. There is no parental exception. There is no exception that allows a parent to say, I don't agree with that. I make the decisions for my children, and I don't agree with that. That is not one of the exceptions. But there is some reference in the policy to a medical exception or a medical exemption. And so here it is, straight from the LDOE website. I've even got the page number. And they ask the question about face masks. For students or staff members who have a medical exemption for a face cough covering, a face shield with a drape at the bottom of the shield is allowable as a substitute. So folks, all I'm telling you is if you look at the documentation and the guidance, you have no authority to grant an exemption simply at a parental request. You can grant it on a medical exemption. You can allow the use of the shield and the drape cloth. And in certain instances, particularly in dealing with special education, where the children have a medical plan in place, you may have to make accommodations there as well. I wanted to show that to you. Now, other people talk about the religious exception. They say that wearing the mask offends a strongly held religious belief of mine. There has only been one case that I'm familiar with that it's actually gone so far as a ruling on that, and it is out of the Sixth Circuit, the Resurrection School case. I have the citation there. In this case, the court said that there was a legitimate governmental interest in stopping the spread of COVID. And important to the court's decision, they said, look, we're not picking on one faith. This is a neutral decision affecting all religions. And so, since it affects all religions equally, the standard of review is not as high. All the court said that the school district would have to do, or in this case, the Department of Health, is show that there was a legitimate governmental interest, and they clearly found that that was present. We conclude that the Department of Health orders do not violate the free exercise clause because the health department orders are neutral and of a general applicability and satisfy a rational basis review. Rational basis meaning, hey, there is an epidemic out there. So Ouachita, though, is in a unique position because it is not asking its parents to make a decision about the mask. There is a virtual option available to that you have afforded your parents, and that will negate any challenge to the medical or the religious exemption in this particular parish. Now, in addition to the requirement of the governor, if a school board were to buck the governor's proclamation, there would be some consequences. Also, to me, it's compelling that not a single district has gone against the mandate. That is very informative to me as to the opinions they have reached. But if the board were to go against the mandate, you would run the risk of losing the Act 9 immunity that was given to you last year. A lot of people misconstrue that Act 9 immunity, and they say, well, that's just a way for board members to hide behind making a tough decision. Actually, Act 9 immunity is designed to protect public funds. Y'all don't earn a profit. You are funded by federal funds, and there are certain protections that are placed there to protect public funds. And one, sir, I will answer. I will let you use and abuse me and answer questions when I'm through with it. And I will give you the courtesy to ask me any question you want. And if you can simply afford me the same courtesy, I promise I will give you that opportunity. Now, immunity can be lost, but insurance coverage can be lost as well. And I have pulled your insurance policy. You're insured by Chubb Insurance. This is one of the exclusions in your specific policy. This is in Ouachita's policy. It provides that an exclusion is in place for any intentional or knowing violation of the law. I've already showed you where the governor's proclamation is the law as it relates to masks. So what I'm telling you is that if we utilize the mask as we're required, the district has a better chance of reaching its goals for student achievement. I want to stop there a second. My child did not last year have a traditional graduation. She had virtual instruction, and I'm here to tell you, it is nowhere equivalent to being in brick and mortar. And if you wear the mask as required, they dangle a carrot for you, and they reduce the number of students that are quarantined, and the kids can stay in the classroom and receive better education. So with the mask comes the benefit of less quarantine. Of course, you can maintain your immunity, you avoid your in-coverage disputes, and again, without saying it, without the mask, the number of quarantines are going to go up. Now, you took an oath when you were elected to this position, and that oath says that you'll follow the laws and the constitutions of the state, so help me God. Oftentimes, that oath is forgotten, but it is just a part of being an elected public official. All right, now, first I'll ask the board, do they have any questions? If there are no questions of the board, I will I'll answer any questions that anyone has. The lady in the back, ladies first. No, you're welcome to speak.
Hello, my name's Roxy. Some of y'all know me. Hey, Dr. Tober.
Hello.
Your former student from home the other day. So I'm not an attorney. I'm not a
Yes, ma'am.
but I'm very inquisitive. I adapt a lot of information as well, and I want to say, everybody that is in authority position, they all are sworn in to honor the Constitution. By the way, I fully agree. I am proud American. And the amendments that are in the Constitution that are not absolute, that is a disgrace for anybody to actually even think that, because that's a slap in the face for the fallen soldiers who came up here and fought for all of us and all of our lives. For the soldiers who are serving today, right this minute, that is a slap into their face. Because why are they fighting? Why did they fight? Why did they die for something that is not absolute? And so when a mandate is in place, that is not a law. A mandate is a recommendation in order for nothing COVID related to fall on any upper tier soldiers in order to prevent a lawsuit. Which, hey, I get it, people are lawsuit happy. However, what about the adverse reactions to these now? About these babies and boys coming home, dizzy and a headache, because they're so hot, because they are suffocating. What about the bacteria? The one that says it's TB, a bacteria that causes TB. I know that most people might think I'm a horrible mother by saying this, but I'm proud of the mother who I am. And I'm proud of the person who actually had a deal in embracing me, because I'm not scared of COVID. After all, turn that around. That is called DMOC. And DMOC is in fact an evil spirit.
Now, do you have a question I can answer?
I do have a question
All
to
right.
ask. Why is everything being turned around, and why is everybody being brainwashed, and why is the history and the Constitution slowly but surely being stripped away from the people who are here, and why do we pay taxes? Yeah. If people who are sitting on any kind of board, not just this board, because honestly, I love this school. I was raised in this school. Thank God for the teachers and everybody had an impact with me because of who I am. But everybody pays taxes. For what?
All right, so the answer to that question is, I could sit here and talk till I'm blue in the face. We would never reach a consensus on this issue. As I said in the first slide, this board can't decide the science, and I'm aware of the science to which you point. And so this board simply doesn't have the authority to do what you ask them to do.
Then
You
why
have
do
a
y'all
question?
vote?
I think, yes.
Yes, I got a question. My name is Chad Smith, and I went to school as well. We started to talk about authority and legal aspects of everything. When you look at the whole entire situation, if mask mandates are so important, why are they not voted on by our Congress and enacted laws to do that? Because they're mandated, which means, as she said, it's not a law.
Well, that is
And
an
if you,
issue.
if you go into the point of mandating and say, hey, we're going to do a carrot and stick, which is pretty much Marxist, type thing. We don't need a carrot, we don't need a stick. We're our own people. We're supposed to be ruled by ourselves. When you get to the point of when you're saying legal justification for the mask and everything going on is based off of the mandate, which is not ruled by Congress as a law because they can't. And it's not equal from one state to the next, one neighbor to the next neighbor, one school district to the next. There's no consistency to it. How do you make that our school board cannot decide on their own that is legally bound by consistency when it's not?
Very clear. This board has a law that says you cannot pass a policy inconsistent with law. Your elected officials gave the governor that authority. So any issues that you have with this does not lie with this body. These people are from this parish that you know every one of them. Your issue is in Baton Rouge, not with these people. Yes.
I'm at Howard. I just wonder when you're talking about law, when the person who sits behind the seat at the Oval Office breaks the laws of the land, why are we expected to observe them?
I've explained the law to you, but what you also need to understand is that we have rules that govern our students and their conduct in the schools. And we expect the students to follow those rules because that's what we impose and that's what we ask of them. This board has to follow the same laws for the same reasons that the students do. It's about the authority. Yes, sir.
We said the pledge, we have a prayer. Would you agree that self-ownership is a basic human right granted by God and not by the government?
I would agree that there are a lot of rights granted by that are innate, inherent rights. Yes.
So, would you agree that the governor and the legislature have put this school board in a situation to do what the voters want and what may be the right thing to do, but is not the legal thing to do?
We all disagree. If I could ride a motorcycle without a helmet, I'd prefer that. Or if I could drive without a seatbelt.
So
that's just not my choice.
Either go with their constituents or go against the law, correct?
No, sir. They only have one decision. That's to follow the law. I think there was a question in the back.
No, that's not. They have an option to do what's right.
Yes.
And go in.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask you, was it legal when the Romans said to Jesus? Was that legal in the time?
Sir, I'm
Was
here
it legal when Stalin did to his people in the work?
Ma'am, in the back.
Was it legal what Hitler did to the Jews?
Hey, you're out of order.
Just because it's legal doesn't make it right. And somebody has to stand up and say, this is not right, and we're not going to go for it.
Sir, look, I told you I'd answer questions, but I'm only going to answer questions. Yes, ma'am. No, you've had your question. Yes,
You
ma'am.
never let me finish my
I'm just saying
question.
we're in a position.
I can't hear you, ma'am.
It's these men's fault.
Can you call some title of that law that says that y'all can't hire and all that?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I will give you that, and I'll go back to it and give it to you right here. The first one is 17:81, and the one on the governor's authority is that one right there. Yes, sir. You haven't asked a question.
So I wonder, why are we putting them back? You brought the numbers up.
Yeah.
And if those numbers are real, it kind of makes sense. But there's more to the story that we're not being told. See, Ouachita Parish has received $753,000 from the CARES Act, and the stipulation behind that is we have to follow CDC guidelines. And what do CDC guidelines say? There's two things. Universal and correct use of masks should be required, and social distancing. So we're accepting money to mask our kids. Why are we okay with that? And I come in here upset with the school board, and I've learned today it's not your fault. So now I'm upset with our government, because now it's your fault. So how long are we going to accept it? How long are we going to do it? Because in Australia, they just took 25,000 kids to a stadium and vaccinated them. 2 of them left there in a body bag. How much are we going to let it go? How far are we going to let it go?
Well, look, I appreciate the opportunity of the board to answer the questions and to hopefully answer some and clear up some of the reason. You know, anybody can make an easy decision, but these are hard decisions, and it takes leaders to do them. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Dr. Hicks. Moving down to item number 5, update on quarantine protocol. Ms. Jennifer Nichols.
I provided each of you with the screening tree. It's the school COVID-19 screening tree that's from the Department of Health. And if you'll look at it, this is what we are following in our schools. We want a consistency from elementaries to middle to high schools across our parish. So if you'll look on the side that says symptomatic, we'll go over that side first. So for a student or a staff member experiencing COVID-like symptoms, they will go home. If they're at school, they'll stay in an isolation room until someone picks them up. And they'll have two options to either get a COVID test or get evaluated by their healthcare provider. Once they get that COVID test, if it is positive, then they will isolate and stay home until they are fever-free with no medications for 24 hours and symptoms-free, no symptoms, and 10 days since either the first symptom appeared or the date of the positive test, whichever comes first. Because our goal is to get our kids back in school. If it is a negative test, then the students will stay home until symptoms improve and they're fever-free on no meds. So if you will turn to the other side, responding to close contact. And I will say real quick that if someone is positive, then they will be quarantined for 10 days. They can shorten it to 7 days if they go and get a test after day 5. On day 6 and 7, they can get a test, and they can go back to school on day 8 if it is negative, if they've been exposed. Now, this would not apply to a pre-K classroom where they aren't wearing their masks. So if you'll look on the close contact from the top going down, if someone was in close contact, that means they were within 6 feet of a COVID-infected person for 15 minutes over 24-hour period. Now, if a student, if you look in that blue box, it says do not quarantine if they were fully vaccinated at least 2 weeks following the receipt of the second dose in a 2-dose series, or at least 2 weeks following receipt of 1 dose if they took the Johnson & Johnson vaccination. Or, and this is for the kids, if both the positive individual and the contact were engaged in consistent and correct use of a face mask and they were at least 3 feet from each other. So what we've told our schools is please make sure that the students are sitting at least 3 feet from each other and wearing their mask appropriately. This way you don't have to send the kids home and they're at school getting their education. So when you go down under quarantine, close contact, if they get a negative test, they're quarantined. We're going by the 10 days if they were wearing a mask. Pre-K are not wearing masks, the majority. So pre-Ks would have to quarantine for 14 days. Okay, and that's what it says at the bottom of the tree. So we're not requiring, if they were close contact, they can shorten to 7 days. If they go and get a test on day 6 and 7, they can come back on day 8 instead of quarantining the full 10 days. Okay, does anybody have a question on the screening tree? This is on Louisiana Department of Health. We do have cases that come up that are a little different that don't follow this, and in that case, that is where I call our Region 8 representative for LDH, the epidemiologist. I talk with her and her team, and then we make a decision on those cases. Okay.
Any questions for Jennifer on the board?
When you talk to her on the Region 8, she gets all the details for
All the
each
details.
circumstance? So you
A
get,
lot of times I get them to send it to me in writing so that I can forward it, and then she forwards me back, and we can send it to all the schools in case they have that same situation.
and that's with the Department of Health, or
Louisiana Department of Health.
okay. What makes up Region 8? This area, we're in
Yes,
Region 8.
We're in Region 8. So our epidemiologist is Helena DeCent. When we talk with her and Dr. White, and they're the ones who get with their team, and they let us know how we need to proceed.
Ms. Nichols, will we post this on our site?
Yes, it is posted. And most of the schools have put it on their site as well. I've also encouraged our nurses, when they're handling parents and talking with parents, to highlight what's going on, that we're following this, this is where it's coming from, and this is why. And this gives them a backing. Okay?
Any more questions from Ms. Nichols? Thank you, Ms. Nichols.
Thank you.
Moving down to item number 6, approval of Ouachita Parish 2021 COVID leave policy. Mr. Todd Geis.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Board,
just give you a little history on our COVID leave since this pandemic has begun. The first Families Coronavirus Act was signed into law on March the 18th, 2020 by President Trump. And a provision of this act was the Emergency Family and Medical Leave Expansion Act, which required employers to give paid COVID leave from April the 1st, 2020 until December the 31st, 2020. In fact, we went in and amended our policy at the time, which is policy GBRIBC, to include this language. Consequently, after the expiration of that act, the Consolidated Appropriations Act, which President Trump signed into law on December the 27th, 2020, allowed employers on a voluntary basis to extend those leave benefits. OPSB at the time then extended COVID leave through June 30th, 2021, at which time it expired. Additionally, our district, through the action of our board, adopted the extended COVID leave plan for employees that had exhausted COVID leave provided by the acts mentioned above under certain situations. This policy allowed employees in our district who met certain circumstances to be granted an additional 5 days of extended COVID leave. This also expired on June 30th, 2021. So as we entered into the 21-22 school year, we had a lot of conversation within the district that's been going on about how to handle this. We weren't sure if Congress was going to act again and pass anything regarding COVID leave. To this point, they have not. So we have elected, and what I'm asking you today to do is to pass an additional COVID leave policy for our employees that we are, for lack of a better term, just starting off naming it 2021 COVID leave, trying to keep all the various leave options separate. And it would, and I'm asking you to pass it retroactively beginning in August, on August 1, 2021, and then going through December 31st, 2021. And at that point, we would, step back and reevaluate and see where we are at that point as far as leave. But what this would do would grant an additional 5 days of paid COVID sick leave to our employees who are quarantined as part of their official duties as employees of the Ouachita Parish school system in that role. So it's outlined for you. It is almost word for word the same policy that we enacted in the spring of last year that gave the extended COVID leave that I mentioned in that third paragraph on the previous sheet. So that is what we're asking to do today, and we're asking to make that retroactive to August the 1st. So we can go back and pick up any employees that have been quarantined since the start of school. Most of our employees return to work, or a lot of our employees return to work August 1st, and the others subsequently in days and weeks after that. So that is my request today for approval of this leave.
Okay. We have a motion and a second for the Ouachita Parish 2021 COVID leave effective August the 1st, 2021 and till December the 31st, 2021.
So moved.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? Okay. Yeah, 4
Y'all
minutes.
gotta forgive me.
4 minutes, ma'am.
Sir?
3 minutes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Can y'all hear me? Okay. So I want to, seeing as how, thank you for giving me 4 minutes because I wanted to address, previously. However, I want y'all to understand why everybody is so worked up, so passionate. When we were talking the other day and you said that passionate comes when somebody's messing with people's kids or money. That's what's happening because of the corrupted politics that's in play right here. Not just right here, in the whole state of Louisiana. And the numbers are not adding up. And, for anybody that is in the medical field, they should already know about the, hang on just a second, I'm sorry, about the Nuremberg Code. It was established in 1947 after the World War II in order for everybody to have all information for any human clinical trials that are going on in order for somebody to make a proper decision about that individual. However, there's a one-sided narrow story. And then when you try to spit out the truth, everybody backs up. But I already know because nobody likes the truth. Nobody wants to accept the truth. And the truth is all of this is not only just making us angry, building bridges to a, future. I would love to see that for my kids and my, future grandkids, these people's kids. However, if we keep going this way, they won't see a future. They are, in fact, being denied an education because the VIP, which is awesome, most parents cannot afford internet because of the cost of living today. And especially for the employees and your support staff, they've already been underpaid for so long. So if they have kids in school, they can't afford internet. And I know that's all in the works of our Congress to get the broadband expand, but it hadn't done it yet. So the numbers from the LDH that I received on August the 16th through the 22nd, 17 schools out of 37 schools right here in Ouachita Parish were reporting cases, and it was only 74 COVID cases among children. However, within that same week, there was 365 kids out. They're being segregated. And I know that is a touchy word, but they are. Not only are they being segregated, but the employees. And the fact that people are getting in trouble, written up, suspended, threatened over a mandate as acting as law that is, in fact, kind of contradicts with the law that was already passed about not wearing a mask in a public facility. I don't understand that. So why are they getting written up? Why are they being denied an education? Why are they in a atmosphere where it's not only endangering them emotionally, but physically, academically, and medically? Just like what the guy just said, there's harmful bacteria on their mask and on your mask right now.
Time's up, man. Thank you.
I love seeing you, by the way, Dr.
I love seeing you too, Roxy.
Any more discussion from the audience? Yes.
My name's Chad Smith. Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, 3 minutes, Chad.
3 minutes. Hopefully, this is not going to be the last that I see you guys because hopefully you guys recognize my face. Quick question on which, quick addition to what she was talking about. ALC-0159. Is anybody familiar with what that is? Okay, is it a PEG ligated lipid which comes from has been used for lipid nanoparticles for the delivery of RNA of the actual vaccine. I don't know if you guys know it, but this is actually on the Pfizer website itself. This product is for research use only and not for human use. There's so many questions we have to ask for everything that's about this. If you take your time to look for yourself and not listen to everybody else, literally says research use only, not for human use. That's what they want us to put in our bodies to mandate. So hopefully when we come to that for our children, you guys will take a little bit more look at that. There's also on the other side of that we have, when you go to look at the Pfizer vaccine that was actually approved, and it goes to the list of what part of it is good and bad, the allergic reactions, it says no available information on all of them. How are we supposed to make a choice for our bodies when it says, literally in the very first one, the PI says, under the prescriber's information, don't take this if you have an allergic reaction to it. You go to the allergic reaction, it says no information available. So that's some of the things, that's why we're all concerned. Now, I was trying to bring that and some information up to the principal at West Monroe High School just recently. Do y'all know who I am? My name's Chad Smith. Have y'all heard of me yet? If you haven't, ask yourself why. Because you had a principal violently throw me out of his school, threaten me with physical violence, followed me out to the parking lot with 3 or 4 other guys and chased me down the road. Then had 3 sheriff's officers show up to my house and say that I will be arrested if I go back on there, and I have a stepdaughter to go there because I asked questions about the curriculum. When I first sat down to talk to them, I complimented, said everything nice, and looked at me stone cold. They were ready for a fight. They should have sent me to the school board to talk about curriculum. Now, I can't go by there without getting arrested. Now, I know there's a video of it. Have you seen the video? If you don't know who I am, you probably haven't seen the video. Ask Mr. Merrick, because I've already called and complained to him. Where's the video at?
But it's supposed to be about the COVID leave, sir.
Okay.
We got way off track there.
I sure did. And that's what I was talking about, the COVID leave, and I led up to things because I want you guys, I can end now. I want you guys to know who I am. I want you to ask for the video where he chased me out of the high school.
Okay.
I want to know why he's still teaching. I'm going to be a principal.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can anybody just walk up and speak? I'm just curious, I don't know how this works.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, three,
I'm
three,
feeling it
3
strange
minutes.
because,
3 minutes.
I'm not here for this reason. I spoke to people in the parking lot. I did leave my cell phone in the car because, you know, just like I would think it'd be like a police station. You don't need to be bringing
About
unnecessary.
the 2021, it's 2021 COVID leave is what the question would be about, ma'am, for 3
Well,
minutes.
I do have something to say about that,
Sure,
but am I
okay.
not allowed to elaborate with a little few other problems I have? I'm just curious. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and say, my name is Sherry Jones, and I didn't bring notes, but I did take a few back there, which I speak fast, so I'm gonna try to slow down. I don't know any of y'all, except for I went to school with Scotty Watton 100,000 years ago. Mr. Como, I met probably in 74, and I know your daughter, Jerry Gale. You know who I am, right? But I've had several reasons to come to a school board, but I've never been to any school board meeting throughout these years. Never, I just let it go. But I'm gonna say, my name is Sherry Jones. My husband's Dennis Jones. We are the nuclear family that is actually married. And in 2009, I had the opportunity, so we're parenting together. I had the opportunity, a very strange opportunity, to adopt a child that was handed to us. Long story, not going to get into it, but she was 8.5 months old. She had a bottle mouth because she was severely abused at 3 months. Her brother and sister was in a room, locked in a room, eating their own feces, is how they take her out of the room. Yes, it's a very tragic story. And I knew that there would be problems. But if you've seen her today, and you've walked, many people have seen her because I have a huge media following, I did, until I decided a year and a half ago to take myself off media. Maybe that would help me with my parenting with my child. So I'm completely off the grid. But I've raised her. People have seen her from the beginning. You would not know there's a problem. Very well mannered. She has 2 things that I think is lacking in this world with children: compassion and empathy. My husband is in a position where he is the director and the directing manager of the World Series of Poker and the vice president of Caesars Entertainment. I live in a community, nobody knows that. I'm not here to sing my praises. However, that has afforded us the opportunity out of 365 days a year, 310, we're in a hotel, and yes, it is a casino if anyone has a problem with that. However, we decided with this child, we're going to do everything possible for this baby. I took her to psychologists at 1 year old. I was so paranoid, I wanted to do everything right. I took her to doctors. I did everything that you're supposed to do because I thought, I don't want to screw this one up. Even though I do have 2 children that are grown and both of them are college educated. Just saying. So we've traveled. My child has extensively traveled. We've been all over, abroad and here. I chose to come back to Luna, Louisiana. And Luna, West Monroe. Number one, my parents lived there. But second off, I went 1st through 8th grade there. I remember it being a very much, back in those days, I don't know if anyone knows it now, but back in those days, if someone got onto you, you didn't run home and tell your mother. You was hoping that she wouldn't find out because teachers were 100% the good guys. So I chose to put her there. So let's see, I was trying to figure it out while ago. So in 2000 and,
Time's up, ma'am.
I'm on time, I'm just
Yep, yes, 3 minutes.
And I do speak fast, and I'm sorry, I am on a timer or I'm not?
You are.
Oh, well, we're going to have a problem then because I've got something to say. I chose to put her in Pinecrest. She started kindergarten, I think it was in 2014, something like that.
But your time's up, ma'am.
My time's up?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I'm just going to say this one last thing. My daughter told me 2 nights ago, Mom, I don't understand it, and I am stupid. And I try to figure out what's the worst of 2 evils. I had a man, Tommy Como, who daily told me how stupid I was when I was at a chalkboard. And the exact words is, "You're stupid. Go sit your ass down, stupid." I am 53 years old. I've seen the Louvre. I have been to Paris. I have been to, listen, I sit in Marie Antoinette's bed, and I am still 12 years old being told I'm stupid, stupid, stupid.
I guess that's all we're going to turn loose on.
Move on to the next.
Yeah. All right, we're moving on down to item number 7.
But we never did vote on that other issue.
Yeah, you gotta vote on that.
I'm sorry, getting ahead of myself, Okay, all in favor, yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no? Motion carries. Moving down to item number 7, consideration approval of Policies, Ms. Jennifer Nugent.
Good afternoon, Board.
Good afternoon.
If you will look in your policy folder, you should see 6 policies for your consideration. I went ahead and made copies of those so you could have those to look at. And next month, when the next school board meeting, I will ask for your vote on these policies.
So you don't, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving down to number 8, financial report from July the 31st, 2021. Ms. Regina Mickles.
Good afternoon. What you have in front of you is the July 31st, 2021 monthly financial report. This is the first month of our fiscal year, so you will notice there's not a lot of activity to date in the month of July. We have basically, in July, we're still receiving revenues from the previous year, paying payables from the previous year, so the only revenues and activity on the July financial statements are basically just what's done in July preceding school starting in August. So if you'll notice for the general fund, we have an actual excess of $6.8 million with a fund balance of $29.9 million. In the District 1 M&O, we're finishing the first period with $23.7 million. Those revenues being MFP and sales tax for the month of July, there is no revenue in M&O for the month of July. The revenue we receive in the month of July is actually for the previous year. But we did have a few expenditures, $103,000 out of our M&O, and that's just basically our normal monthly expenditures for maintenance and operation. As you'll see going through, the same holds true. No activity in our debt service funds. Very little activity in our capital projects funds. We had a little bit of a payment, $10,000 on storm damaged property from 2019. If you look at the last 2 pages, this gives you a good recap of general fund and M&O on our revenues, expenditures, and other sources. And then on the last page of our fund balance and gives you our year-to-date. These 2 pages give you a 3-year history of our revenues, expenditures, and fund balance, so they're a good source to kind of compare where we are, especially with the last few years that we've had, to give you a more broad view. Does anyone have any questions?
We have a motion and a second to approve the financial report July the 31st, 2021.
I so move.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? From the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 9.
Mr. Hicks?
I think you had one from the audience.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you, ma'am.
Financial report, what?
So, I kind of got skipped over on item 7 whenever the other lady was speaking, but I'm just going to be super quick. I wasn't even planning on talking today, but I feel very led to, so.
Now, this is about the financial report. This is what you're...
Yeah, there's finances in here.
Okay, you got 3 minutes, ma'am.
Okay. You've had 2 board meetings now where the public of all backgrounds have turned out to tell you to stop accepting government input and allow parents, guardians, and educators their God-given rights of authority over our children and how we deem fit to educate our children. By accepting these funds that y'all mentioned and taking the stance just now that parents do not have authority over our children, even though the majority of you claim your Christianity. Therefore, these things that you are accepting are in direct stance against our Lord Jesus Christ. Your stance shows our community what fruits you possess. Your fruits are not showing to be of Christ. Here's what the community asks. Return the money that you've accepted that in fact gives you authority to enforce something unlawful on its people, and in turn damaging our quality of education on our children. The quarantine procedures and all that, that is damaging our children's education and the quality of it. Stand with your parents and your constituents that are here in support of you making the right decision. You know what's right. You know biblically what is right. You know the stories of oppression. You know that God sides with his people. In the 7th grade, a terrorist attack happened. The system determined to ban Bibles in the classroom. Threats of students getting our teachers reprimanded for having our Bibles in class or even getting them fired. I was personally told, Tiffany, do not bring your Bible, don't have your Bible out on your desk, baby, because if an admin comes in here and they see it, I'm gonna get in trouble. You could get me fired. I was personally told that in the 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. God was boxed up into FCS. One time a week, 30 minutes in the morning prior to school even starting. Okay? That is indoctrination. You have all been around to have also partaken in this and allowed this to go on this long. Now round 2 of indoctrination is happening. If we do not comply, then our kids will kill their teachers, grandparents, or parents. That is what they are being told by the media, by the TV, by all these mandates, the school board, their educators that are fear of their lives. You are right. You have no authority, and it is clear that the parents are about to have to go to an extreme to use our authority over the government, you, our children, and anyone else that is against our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. It's God's law, then man's law. Just so we are clear, Christians are to observe and enforce God's law before recognizing man's law. And when man decides not to put God's law first, those men are to be removed from their authority in the name of Jesus.
Resign!
Good afternoon. I don't think you guys are stupid.
What's your name?
My name's Lance.
Lance?
Lance Weatherby.
You got 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'll take 3 minutes. I don't think you guys are stupid. I maybe think you guys don't have a backbone at all. If you're not paying attention to what's going on.
Sir, we're going to speak about the financial here.
Yeah, we'll talk about finances.
Now, you can call us all you want to, but
Yeah.
just, you got to stay with this stack or you can't speak.
I can't speak.
No,
Yeah,
if
well,
you don't want to stay with what we're talking about here.
Are you going to do what's right?
I'm going to do what?
Are you going to do what's right?
Do us right.
Yeah. Are you for freedom or are you for not for freedom?
Well, I'm for freedom letting you talk about the financial report here if you want to.
It's plain and simple. Are you for freedom or not for freedom?
Do you pay taxes?
Yeah, I pay taxes.
That's financial.
I pay my taxes.
Well, I don't say you don't, sir. I ain't got nothing to do with this.
You don't? Why don't you let me speak? You let everybody else speak. I'm being polite, man. No, he's not bothering me.
Hey, that's all. If he stays on this, I'm gonna give you a warning. If you stay on this, you can talk for 3 minutes. Otherwise, you know.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. You see what's going on in this country, okay? You see it every day.
Yeah.
Okay? You know what happened in Nazi Germany? You had 3 groups of people, okay? You had the obedient, that when they were taking them in the cars, they would just jump on in. They were ready to go to the camps, right? Okay? You had the reluctant. Those are ones, man, I just don't know if we can get in those cars, okay? And then you had the ones that were disobedient and were frightened for their lives and their freedoms, okay? How can we trust you guys, all right, to not do the right thing about the mask when you know on the other end of this thing is the mandatory vaccine,
Sir,
right? You know it is.
This is about the revenue.
I'm talking to you about freedom, about what's right for these children, okay?
Well,
if you can't trust you, you need to be removed.
We
We need to recall every one of you.
well, we on this side. We're gonna have enough. No, you done spoke, ma'am.
Oh, we're limited on who can not
No, we
I haven't spoken on this one.
If she talks on the item.
Well,
She talks on the item.
if you're gonna talk on the item, yes, ma'am, 3 minutes. But now, if you get off the item, we don't want to talk about nothing but this right here.
Yes, sir, I understand. Nobody likes to talk about, what's really going on. I'm not singling you out. I'm going to look at you because I know you. And I gotta say, I really do love you. And I've always have when I was at Calhoun Middle, and we're gonna talk about financial. I already know that Ouachita Parish lost $3 million in student count, and that's a big buzz. I already know that the shortage of staff has already been short, and they're getting shorter. Everybody within parents, employees, kids, they are to their limits. And you have a lot of employees from principals, teachers, drivers, cafeteria, maintenance, warehouse. They're about ready to walk. So we're here trying to help them in order to help y'all, and it's personal to me because I grew up in these schools. So I just want y'all to think about that. And while I am on this topic, that mama that just got pulled out, and I'm like, y'all have to do y'all's job. The reason why she was so upset is because her baby, who wasn't sick, and she pays her taxes, and this is the kid that y'all are about to lose because she's done and she's pulling her out. So there's another kid that y'all just lost. But however, she wanted to address because she had truancy at her door for COVID protocols.
That's the last speaker. Cut it off.
That's good. That's up to you.
Yeah. This is the last speaker.
I'm going to speak on financial things.
Okay, this is the last speaker. 3 minutes, sir.
3 minutes. Thank you very much. I'm Byron McCoy. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak for a moment. I just want to touch on, I said a while ago about we received $753,000, $750,000, and there's more of that coming. And I just want to know, what is that money being used for? Because I know that it states in the secretary's letter to us that it states that we need to implement strategies to meet students' social, emotional, mental health, and academic needs. Also, on the really pretty Achieve guide that was sent out, really nice made up, on page 3 under the ESSER 3, encourage use of funds, and I quote, provide evidence-based interventions to meet social, emotional, academic needs of the students. And also on page 5 under allowable use of funds, number 10 said providing mental health services and supports. Now I say that to say this. This weekend I was having a conversation with a teacher who teaches at a middle school, and she has a student who's struggling with gender identity. And the teacher was concerned for the student's well-being. She approached the principal and asked the principal what to do, and the principal told her to leave it alone. Leave it alone. Now, regardless on where our values stand on this gender identity issue, can't we all agree that it can't be ignored? How is leaving it alone providing the mental, the social, or any services needed for that child? Can't we put some of the funds towards training our educators on how to approach difficult subjects like that? And all this arose because society took a toll on that child during our COVID era, during the quarantine, during the being staying home all those months. This child had nothing but social media and society telling her how she should feel, think, and what she should do. I think we need to spend some money towards that. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving down to evaluation of bids.
Renovation project.
Oh, I'm sorry, I checked that one off a while ago and had to go back. And construction renovations project, Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks, board members. If you weren't at Bowley this morning, you missed the opportunity to walk through the new facilities that are being built to replace the Bowley Elementary School at Byrne. We got a first-hand look at what had been done and what needs to be done, and we've got a completion date has changed, and I think the new completion date is the last of February of 2022. Also, you have before you have an architect's field report on Woodlawn. Ask you to look through it. They are through with the home ec room, and they're through with the band and choir, and they granted occupancy by the fire marshal on both of those. It shows pictures of the pavilion and the walkways that are still being covered, or still having a roof put on them, to bring you up to date on that. We have a meeting scheduled for 9 o'clock next Tuesday. Scotty at Woodlawn. And I keep hoping every one of them is gonna be the last one, but I don't know. But maybe this next one, next week, it will be the last one. They'll be caught up. You also have a report from Alliance Group on the roof, 2 roofing projects. The West Ouachita re-roofing and the riser. Just to give you an update, we found another problem at West Ouachita on the gym. It looks like a lot of the roof had been pulled back. And Stephen's getting a cost estimate now to do that. We could change that by either rebid that one little spot or do it by a change order. We'll bring that to you later on. And I just got this report, so Mr. Hicks, I'm sorry, but at the bottom we're talking about the storm drainage, and they asked that the school board grant permission to bid the damage at various schools, and I didn't get that in time to you to ask you to add that to the agenda. So if I could get the school board to add that under permission to bid, which we hadn't covered yet, I would appreciate it, and that'll give them the package to put out for bid. And that's all I have, unless y'all have questions.
Is the damage at the West Ouachita storm related or just from?
No, it's just something we missed when we was covering it. I'll say that, Stephen. It's not storm damage, was it?
Amend the agenda. What is exactly he wants here? This one right here. That's what he wants there. Yep.
Okay. Scott?
Okay. Ken, has the roof on Ouachita High School been completed yet, or where
No,
we at on
sure
that?
hadn't. I don't know why, and I don't know what the holdup is. The last I heard, I give you the report 2 months ago, it was 90% complete. And as far as I know, it's still just 90%.
I was out the other day, they didn't have any material.
Do what?
They didn't have any material on the ground.
Any?
Going by there weekly looking. I got about 6 rows out there, half a row out there. I don't know if we run out of material, couldn't get it or what.
Any idea from the contractor when they might finish, or?
No, sir, I don't. Stephen, do you have any, hate to put you on the spot, but do you have any idea?
Keep them from getting on the roof, early in the morning, we'll keep them from getting on there, so, really perfect condition, and they can work. The wind, big car, and pull those sheets, roof it off, pull somebody off, safety issue also.
So they got 90% completed and 10% left to finish it?
That's the roof that's being replaced under warranty, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's no cost to us. It's defective roof, and the company's paying the contractor to put it back on at no cost to us.
Stephen, you kind of keep me, Dabo and I abreast on that, where we're at when you talk to the contractor, kind of get a timetable from him on that?
So Ken, are you asking Mr. Hicks to amend the agenda to include item 3?
Yeah.
3C, yes, the permission to
just
bid on the
3C,
storm
that's all.
damage.
3C, is that the only one?
Yes, that's all.
Storm damage to the various schools.
All right, I need a motion and a second to amend the agenda to under construction report, items number 3, it would be section C. So I need a motion and a second to amend the agenda to add that
That's
item.
a permission to bid the storm damage at the various schools that we submitted.
Sure.
Is that what FEMA's paying for?
Right.
So that'll be,
Well, that's 20 Bob Jones and FEMA, but hopefully FEMA will pay for all of it.
But this is to get an estimate, right, Ken, of approval or estimate on the damage before FEMA's even gonna look at it, right?
Yeah, we gotta get a prize.
Right. We are going through the process with FEMA and our insurance company to get reimbursement on that, and I think we're in a good position, but we just have to coordinate the process of getting the prices and getting those things completed. In the meantime, we're working on the side of getting reimbursement from, and it'll be a dual effort between FEMA and our own property.
So you wanna add it, you wanna add this to the agenda?
Yes, sir, under permission to bid.
Yes. Okay, I need a motion and a second.
I move we add, item 3C, Ouachita Parish School, storm damage at various schools, permission to bid to the agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? From the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes. Face opposed? Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Hicks.
you bet. Moving down to evaluation of bids, Mr. Bobby Jones.
Need to make a motion to.
Approve.
Added it to the agenda, you need to.
Yeah, to approve the full agenda, I'm sorry. You meant, we add that for permission to bid, so I need a motion to approve the full agenda with that item on there.
Also move we approve the full agenda.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, second, motion second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Mr. Bobby Jones?
Board members, in your packet, you should have the bid tabs, and Mr. Hicks, I will need to table bid items 3 and 4 in this section, please.
Okay.
Okay, the first bid is for Ag Science Materials. That's for our Ag and Science programs. I didn't put the name on here, but I only received one bid. It was from Matheson Trigas, and it was for 51 different items. Similar bid to what we did last year. It expired, so we redid it. So I'm asking to approve the responsive bid from Matheson Trigas for the Ag Science Materials.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the bid from,
I move we approve the bid of the agri-science materials.
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
The next item on there is the assistive technology for, it's a site program for student support services. Again, I only received one bid for that from Southern Assistive Technology. And I'd like the board to approve their bid for items 1 through 5.
Okay.
Excuse me, 1 through 6.
All right, 1 through 6, permission to bid item number 2, assessive tech. Do we have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Item number 5, Mr. Hicks, for Chromebook screens. We have a question out with the apparent low bidder right now, who we have not gotten a response from either through a phone call or through email. And so what I'd like for the board to do, if you would, I will go ahead and ask to approve Mailer and Company as a low responsive bid, pending their providing the information. If their information does not meet the specifications as required, the next bidder, which is Upper Edge Technology for $75, which is within budget, to go ahead and approve those so we can get these screens ordered.
Okay. Do we have a motion and a second to approve the minor bid?
I so move.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. We got item number 6.
Yes, sir. Library books.
Yep.
Received 2 bids for that, one from Permabound, one from Follett. And I'd like to go ahead and approve the low responsive bid from Permabound on the book titles that we selected to get the numbers.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve this. Title bound, you said it was?
Permabound.
Permabound, okay. Need a motion and a second.
Move we accept the low bid for the library books from Perma.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Thank you, board.
Thank you, Jones. permission to bid, move down to the item that we added for permission to bid. I need a motion and a second to.
That's the one y'all voted to add.
Yeah, we added to the agenda on item number, where's 3C? 3C.
Permission bid for the storm damage at various schools in the past.
Yes. Any motion and a second to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Getting all my stuff mixed up, man. Welcome to my world. Welcome to your world.
It's just next board meeting.
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
Well, gentlemen, next board meeting is October the 19th at 12 o'clock. Dr. Coker?
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Just want to remind our people out there that I've been in contact with Mr. Gene Ford. Gene is the one who helps coordinate the prayer walk to all of our campuses, not just in Ouachita Parish, but Monroe City, private and parochial. And so on the 21st of August is when they will be having the prayer walks throughout the entire parish. And certainly want to appreciate Gene and all of the local.
Like you said, August.
Am I saying August? I'm sorry, September.
October.
September 21st, not August. We don't want to go backwards. We want to go forwards. September 21st will be the prayer walk. So appreciate all of our pastors and all of the people in the community that participate, and pray for our kids and pray for our employees each and every day. So thank y'all.
Have a motion to adjourn?
She has to say something.